Good evening again, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us for the third and final show in our series of Middle East and North Africa's 50 Best Masterclasses at Yas Marina Circuit, Abu Dhabi. We are very, very lucky to have a man joining us who was last year named the world's best pastry chef. His restaurant, Room4Dessert, based on the tropical paradise of Bali, where it has resided since 2014, is certainly one of the best restaurants in the world. Before that, Will himself has worked in Australia, Spain, France, and of course his native America. And he was also the first American chef to work in the seminal El Bulli kitchen in Spain, which won the World's Best Restaurant Award on a record 5 occasions. So, without any further ado, I'm sure you're all very excited for what's in store. Please welcome to the stage, Mr. Will Goldfarb. Well, Will be preparing 3 of his signature desserts from Room4Dessert, his restaurant in Bali, which also was in New York for a while as well. So, Will, what are you going to be kicking off with red, I believe?
We are. It was pretty daunting to be asked to pick 3 signature desserts from the last 25 years. So we tried to pick a kind of window, but we thought that Second Chances was really appropriate. And this window of time from 2005 to 2017 is really from when Room4Dessert in New York opened to sort of like the last year of the old, new Room4Dessert in Bali. Because in 2018, we had a big change, and we sort of built our entire world around our medicinal plants garden. And all of the pieces were sort of put in place over these 12 years for the kind of cooking that we're doing now. And I picked 3 desserts. The red dessert that we're going to do first, we started in 2005. You can actually, that's the original Room4Dessert. It's a little smaller than our current location. It was 50 square meters. And currently we have 250, and then we've planted 1,100, and then we planted another 1,700, and we're refurbing to plant another 2,000.
Why has that grown so quickly? What's
well,
changed?
the restaurants stayed the same, but the gardens have grown. So we're very big on not building but planting. And we haven't bought but rented. So we've taken no one's land, and we've converted this land into fertile space. And in some of the cases over 3 years. Which is pretty amazing. We've kept more development that would otherwise be sort of a blight on this beautiful community. By having beautiful things that we grow for our restaurant.
And for a pastry chef, there's few better places to grow tropical fruit and everything.
Tropical fruit. Again, it was amazing seeing Pia cooking with cacao pods and just like looking at something that we see every day in a new way for the first time. And that's one of the great things about being here. I should probably put some food on the plate because otherwise you guys will still be waiting for me tomorrow.
Lots of processing.
I'm going to take a little. Well, so we're a little tricky. When Mark asked me to do 3 desserts, and I had 40 minutes, I sort of laughed because normally when we do one of these, our course is 4 hours. So we're going to do we're going to plate the first 2 dishes, and we're going to go, and then we're going to cook your way through the last dish and do some of the actual recipes. So we really have like a cooking class approach for you guys, like an old school masterclass. The red dish, without boring you with the details, we sort of had this idea that, can I have a little bowl to squeeze it into just to make sure I have the texture? Or a container? Or anything? A hand? Spoon? Yeah, smaller. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Perfect. We had this idea that we always start with ingredient, whatever we do. I know we have this reputation for high-tech things, or we did at least at some point. We always start with ingredients. And we move on to techniques, and then we go on to ideas. And we've since added other things like love and solitude and discourse and fancy intellectual words. But at the end of the day, when we were looking for new types of ingredients, we thought of using color. So we have like a general theory of everything being the same at Room4Dessert. So like all things go together because they're red. So that's sort of one of our, so we like playing around with that idea. And I think this dish was really important for us. It's on our menu now. So we have our tasting menu at Room4Dessert, which changes twice a year. And we have a la carte where we feature some of our, again, I don't like the term greatest hits, but I don't know what else to call them. So popular dishes.
Popular dishes.
So the red is actually on right now. This cream is super tender, which I appreciate, but it makes it a little bit challenging to pipe, but wonderful to eat.
Mm-hmm. And what's in that, Will?
So this is a vanilla cream with a little bit of rosella, and that's what gives it the beautiful pink color. There's also a little vanilla that, again, comes from about 1 hour from the restaurant. And everything here, well, we're slightly different in Abu Dhabi for obvious reasons. We had some raspberries that we used instead of dragon fruit, again, going with our idea that everything red is worth using. So we've got strawberries, which again grow about 1 hour from us in the restaurant. And Tamarillo, which is do you have a whole one that we can show, or maybe not, right? I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with Tamarillo, but it's a beautiful sort of oblong fruit. We have one or no? All roasted, right? Yeah. Great. But again, the idea being that you can cook with whatever you have here. My wife's been encouraging me to look at the vertical farms in Abu Dhabi, so if anyone has any leads, please bring me around. But I think the idea, what we wanted to say to everyone is the interesting thing is the color and how we build the flavor comes around the color. So raspberries, watermelon, strawberries, Tamarillo, beetroot. And then again, we were having we received a great recommendation. I'm going to butcher the name of the restaurant because I don't have it, but we received a great recommendation for a traditional Lebanese restaurant here in Abu Dhabi that we went to the other day, and it got us thinking about pomegranate seeds, which seemed to be fairly appropriate. So we took a few of those as well, just to give a little action here. And then we've got a sponge that we do from beetroot that we steam, which is kind of like a red velvet cupcake, actually, but with beetroot as the color. And again, it's pretty loose, the plating. As long as the proportion of everything is about right, you sort of want a spoon of everything. And we've done over the years, I think on the screen you'll see that's the third version, and there's the first, yeah, that's the second, and that's the first. And that started in 2005, and then the last version is from 2017. So that's kind of a thing that we have done in the past, which is variations on themes and evolving over time. But it's kind of funny to know that, you know, we made this rosella ingredients in New York in 2005, and now we grow 200 rosella plants outside of the restaurant. So we've really evolved to where we were just getting fruits at the market to where we can grow all of our flavors, and it's been really fascinating. For the jelly, we use a little rosella as well. I'm not sure if that's local here. Hibiscus? Anyone can tell me? Hands up, thumbs up, or thumbs down, or yes? Great.
Big yes.
So we're totally obsessed with rosella, hibiscus, fior de Jamaica. I mean, a lot of the world has it, and it's just the most beautiful way to use acidity. We also, again, we're big, I'm not sure if zero waste is the right term, but I'm more of the Mad Orlando school, which is there's no such thing as a byproduct. There's just another product. So when we make a rosella tea, we have the flowers. First, well, I mean, again, we grow the flowers. We eat the leaves, which are fantastic. And then we use the flowers to make marmalade. We dry the flowers to make tea. Then we use the dried flowers to make powder as well. So we use it as a seasoning. We also use it to make kind of sour sugars. Could I have a little ice and then a little dragon fruit, please? It's okay, just pass me the tray, it's easier. Yeah, don't worry, just as it is fine. Yeah. So again, we like color for obvious reasons. The ice is from watermelon. There's really beautiful watermelon here. In fact, at the restaurant, do you mind I don't want to put you on the spot, but can you give me the correct pronunciation of the restaurant we went to? Yeah. Zakhr, say again? Sorry, I'm terrible. Lebanese flour. So sitting on the street, it was kind of nice to see everybody having just watermelon for dessert. So we always use watermelon for this. We try to adapt whatever we can when we travel, but at the same time, we really wanted to show you signatures from our world. This is a meringue from dragon fruit. I think it also matches the shape of the Conrad Etihad Towers shampoo bottle, which is actually something that Vivi pointed out to us, that the shampoos and amenities are arranged in the shape of the towers. So we always like to be locally relevant.
Very good.
Think local and act according to shampoo.
It's an amazing color.
Yeah, it's amazing color. But again, the nice thing with this meringue, and by the way, we can share all of these recipes with you. We just didn't want to cook through everything now because it's just so much content. But we can share all of these. You can also email me for tech support or Instagram. I'm very slow, but tragically constantly available. and if you receive an answer from me quickly, it's because Vivi was doing it. But yeah, so this is a version of our red dessert. I'm not sure what's the best angle facing forward. As you can see in the picture, all of the components are there. The only difference is love some sauce. The only difference is some of the fruits. We have a little bit of red wine sauce, which I love. I think it kind of works on everything. We have a little glaze from beetroot as well for the beets.
Have either of those sauces been sweetened?
They have so much natural sugar. They have a few grams of white sugar or cane. We don't really use any white sugar in the restaurant, which is unusual, I guess, for a dessert place. Are you able to see on the side, or should I open it up a bit? Great. Or I can.
And what is it about red as a color? Have you experimented with others?
We did a whole series, actually, of colors. We did white, green, blue, black. And it's kind of funny because I don't know, I always say if you do this thing long enough, like even I come back in style. So like the covers of there's a famous pastry magazine, and this year each month was a color, and we used the dishes from 2005 from the shoot. It was the same concept, but from 20 years ago.
How come red stuck?
We love red. We have a lot of green and we have a lot of white, but there's something about the red. I don't know what it is. It's just pretty to look at.
It is.
I don't know. I'm a sucker for things that are pretty for no good reason, and this is one of them. I think so. So, you're gonna get to eat this, right? Sorry, we should give you a spoon before it melts.
Thank you.
Sorry. Do you have a spoon, or can I offer one for you? Sorry. You think it's pressure to be on camera cooking? It's much harder to be on camera eating.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to fill for me while I stuff my face.
Yeah, of course.
Cheers.
It's all right. So while Mark is eating the dessert that you're not getting, we're going to start to show you our second dessert, although sequentially it's our third dessert. So this dessert was done in 2017, and I think it kind of marks the end of where we were going in this period. It's hyper-local. It's using byproducts. It's using medicinal plants from our garden, but it wasn't driven by that, sort of like medicinal plants as a garnish, which I'll explain as we go in. And it kind of sets the stage for where we are from 2018 to now, which is, well, we call it botanical modernism.
Utterly delicious. The balance
Thank
of
you.
I wish you could all try it.
Yeah. Just everyone gets like a really, really small spoon.
But, I mean,
we are cooking the last dessert for you, so this is not just all talk. But we couldn't do all three, so we're gonna show you the first two, and then we're gonna cook the third. And the third one, as we cook it, we're gonna serve it to you, because we think that's the most tasty and also the best to do in a crowd. We're also not gonna plate in ceramic bowls and make you hold cutleries and napkins, which was very brave, I would say, of Tim, to even attempt. We are going to do it catering style in plastic cups because we think that is perfectly fine. So I'm just going to arrange the ingredients here. And again, if you have a chance to invert it, it's so much easier. Yeah, don't worry. I just need one. I'll take that. Thank you. And this is my jelly, and then we're good to go, right? Yeah, in case it's not obvious, like if I don't even know which way to turn out of my hotel room unless I get a text from Vivi telling me where to go. So this is actually eerily appropriate to our normal life. So the next dessert that we're going to show you is called Incidente Stradale, which is Italian for motorbike accident. Seemed kind of appropriate for us and the look of the dish. And it's, I think this is really, I don't know, I think this is a dish that marks kind of the end of this 2005 to 2017. So the big change for us in 2018, we've been building up to tasting menus for the 4 years of the restaurant. So originally we didn't offer a tasting menu at all. I thought it was ridiculous to serve a tasting menu at a bar, which I still think we are, but we've somehow become as almost a restaurant, and maybe, who knows, maybe we can be considered like a real restaurant in the coming years. We will certainly appreciate it.
On the right path.
We are working hard, because now we're a 21-course tasting menu. So 7 desserts, 7 starters, and 7 petit fours, and 3 dining rooms, and kind of like our version of a home. Where you sit in our salon and you have snacks, you come inside for dessert, and you go to the terrace and sit in the garden or by the fire to have petit fours. And again, since most of our team has been with us since opening, it's really like being at our house. And so there's a kind of like a big difference from the desserts that we made in this period where people were getting single standalone desserts, right? So you kind of need to kill people in one shot. And that's a nice thing, right? That to be able to cook a la carte. And the tasting menu is totally different. So we found ourselves like pairing and pairing and pairing down, so where the desserts were like nothing. I think the last cover photo we did was a flan. Like it's a flan with caramel sauce. There's absolutely nothing there. It's delicious. It's perfect on a tasting menu, but it just wasn't our style. So this dish was kind of the last of that series of plated desserts that we wanted to kind of blow people away from top to bottom, as opposed to like, let's say, slip their socks off in a tasting menu format. So I should probably be plating while I'm talking. This is basically a tiramisu. Thank you. The difference is we have something called jamu. We're going to talk a lot about that tomorrow. Jamu is a turmeric-based beverage, a medicinal plant. It's great for inflammation, which is a decades-long battle for me in one way or another. So we actually use this, and the reason we put this in the dish was we made the dish after I came back from Italy, and my wife said it was too boring because it tasted like tiramisu. So we added the turmeric, and it just picked it straight up. The turmeric together with the coffee was just phenomenal. So when I think of visiting here and coffee and Spice Road, I think there's a lot of commonality together with the products that we work with in Indonesia. And obviously there's a lot of overlap culturally in Indonesia, maybe a little bit less in Bali. But this product is something that we make every day and I drink every day. And I've actually been suffering here without it. I've found myself like literally cramping up or swelling up. It's kind of amazing. Just 3 days without turmeric or coconut water, and wow. I'm like, yeah, I can't function anymore, or lower than I usually can. This is.
And how about the name? Motorcycle accident.
I think you'll see when we're done, but I'm sort of notorious for crashing everything that I've driven, one way or another, over the last unfortunately now 30 years. So for us, and again, coming from Italy and driving on the road, everything sort of seemed like an accident. And there was just something about the plating that was very reminiscent of that. We also, in Bali, motorcycle accident is kind of a rite of passage. Like you don't really live in Bali until you've crashed. Mm-hmm. In fact, last week, Vivi was rear-ended on the way to work, and it's sort of like now she's really Balinese. So this is a sponge cake made from sorghum. And I'm not sure if you have sorghum, either wild or cultivated here, but it's a subsistence crop in many parts of Indonesia. Careful. And we buy from one woman, actually. Her name is Maria Loretta, and what she does is she collects the sorghum from women of Flores and brings it to us because they can't afford the fuel to bring the product to market. We actually grow our own sorghum now, which is kind of nice. And it makes you appreciate the process. We have a little bit of milk jam here, which is really old school confiture de lait and has kind of similar products all over the world as well. But you'll see, even as it builds, it starts looking like something that got run over, which to us seemed very appropriate.
I mean, I don't know if you can call that a plate or a piece of crockery. Did you bring that? Did you bring that with you?
We did bring that. We make our plates custom with Gaia Ceramic, which is about a block away from the restaurant. This is a coconut water jelly. And now we're basically ready for our meringue.
And this is a standard meringue?
This is a Balinese meringue, but with vinegar
Gotcha.
as the acidity instead of palm sugar, which is the recipe that we're going to do next. You can actually go straight on the plate if you want. I'm going to let Vivi do that instead of me messing it up. Perfect. So this is a piped meringue from coconut water vinegar that we make. The process is there as well. We have a sort of incredibly, I'm not sure delicate is the right word, it's sort of lacy product from old coffee grounds. I'm going to just take one piece off and you're going to pretend that you didn't see me do that. But as you can see, it's falling off in here. But the idea of the tuile is that it's fragile, right? It looks like it's been run over. So this is our incidente stradale, which is a tuile from old coffee grounds. So that's what we use as the base for the tuile. a meringue from coconut water vinegar, which we sour the water together with the cream, so it has a fatty flavor, like a substitute for mascarpone. A coffee cream, milk jam, coconut water, sorghum is a daiquoise, and then, of course, the jamu at the bottom, which brings it all together. So this is our kind of Balinese tiramisu, which looks like the old me, which would have probably crashed on the way home from service, as opposed to the new me, who is healing through food and in the pool every morning.
I mean, the difference in those two styles of plating, that if people see how clean, how pared back they are compared to...
We're always trying to get more essential, but again, if you order like one plate, like we want to kill you, you know, so we want you to be wowed, like, I mean, with flavor, but I'm pretty old school. You got to see it first. I mean, and you're no matter how delicious it is, we want to show people the work and the thought that goes into it. So this is on our a la carte. With the 3 desserts we're doing today are available at our a la carte right now, and they're a total pain in the ass for our service team when we're busy, because we do in this last 2 years, actually, we're just happy when people come at all, but theoretically, they're a pain in the ass for when we're busy, because we run this whole menu of really ornate, elaborate desserts on top of our 21-course menu. And it's normally Vivi and one other cook doing all of those things. So they're pretty busy.
Yeah, crazy. But this wouldn't be part of the tasting menu?
When we didn't have the snacks and petit fours, it would have been like a last dessert, maybe. But even then, we moved away from that pretty quickly. Let me give this to you before it melts.
Thanks.
Sorry, I'm sorry to put you on pressure.
No.
But so that's our Incidente Stradale, which is our sort of Balinese tiramisu. Kind of wraps up our 2005 to 2017 period, which we'd never identified until asked to present these 3 desserts for today. But now it's officially a period. Again, thanks to 50 Best MENA. How is it?
Delicious. The vinegar is just the balance. It brings it all together.
So clean, right? It's obviously we're like mascarpone obsessives and make our own, but we were able to, by using the fat from the coconut and souring it together with the milk, the vinegar is incredibly rich. It's kind of like I hate the term mixology, but the fancy bartendering version of fat washing. But with vinegar, it's really effective because you get that mouthfeel of mascarpone, but none of the fat, because we scrape the fat off. But I think that would work here with, I wonder if you'd be able to do it with date palms. But anyway, again, so I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with coconut water and sugar. Not that it's not but from the palm, to be able to get the nectar, that's sort of going to be the basis for our next dish. But I would imagine there's got to be something that will be a good substitute here as well.
You concentrate quite heavily on your drinks program at Room4Dessert.
We do. Almost all of our menus now are paired, and almost all of those are paired with alcohol. Well, that's not true. Let's say 80%. So 20% are actually paired without alcohol, with alcohol-free drinks, which we are even more passionate about because they're harder. It's harder to make a satisfying alcohol-free drink, in my opinion, because you don't have that little hit or bitterness and acidity from the alcohol, and you don't have that kind of reward, that people expect from a cocktail. So we're obsessive about our drinks program, and we do all of the development in tandem. So the desserts and drinks are made with the same products, and they're made side by side, and that's what Lucia is responsible for, organizing all of the R&D. We do R&D the old-fashioned way, which is the team does their work before dinner. We don't have another department, although we are trying to build one this year. So it's a little bit slower and less efficient, but it means that everyone's involved with all of the development for everything we do. Everyone is tasting the beverages. Every plant we grow, the bar team gets this part, the kitchen team gets this part, the pastry team gets this part. So we strive for total utilization of every product, although I've never cooked the membrane from the cocoa before. So it's always nice to, again, one of the great things about being at a forum like this is, I'm a fan too. I want to see what Pia's doing, and I want to be a fan. I haven't lost any of that enthusiasm. So it's nice to get inspired and to see people from all over. So hopefully we're able to share a little bit of that spark today with you guys. I know this is a slightly different approach, although today has been a pretty all over the map as far as things have gone. So this technically is the part where we're going to cook everything. as opposed to just plate. That's a pretty big ask in terms of all the recipes that we have. So we're going to start. I'm actually going to let you whisk that while I talk so that we can do, two things at one time. So one of the big things that we worked on, it took us about a year actually, was a way to make a meringue that was low sugar, featuring palm sugar. Which again, sorry, now I have a question. Do you not have sugar from the palms here? From the date trees? What's the product? Is it date sugar? Okay, perfect. So I would imagine that has a very high acidity, like a very low pH. Is that correct or no? But does anyone know? Does it have a very low? Is it acidic? Does it have a low pH? It is acidic, right? So one of the great things about palm sugar, and again, those are not things that I'm not knowledgeable at all about the date tree, but the coconut palm tree, the sugar is quite acidic. It's like a 4, which is not necessarily what we think of when it comes to sugar. But we developed this technique to make a stable meringue with low sugar by using the acidity of the palm sugar. So this is something actually easy to make at home, even though we have a lot of fancy tools in the restaurant. Are you okay? Do you need something? Great. So if you're doing this at home, you can actually just take equal parts water, egg white, and palm sugar. So that may seem, again, for those of you who make meringues, normally meringues are 2 to 1 sugar. This is sort of 1 to 3. And what we do is we cook it all, we blend it, the water and the sugar and the egg whites. We strain it into a bowl, and we cook it like we're cooking an ice cream. So we cook it to 82 degrees, 86 actually, but who's counting? 82 is enough to pasteurize it. So how are you on temp? No, you're not close. Do you want to give me a little more fire? Yeah. Please? And get that up so you can show some volume building as it comes up. That would be great. And let me clear a little space off my...
I think you're being a bit modest about this technique, Will.
Well, it took a while. We published a paper on it. In fact, there's a link, I think, to the paper a couple pages ahead. You can find it online on the Institute of Gastronomy and Food Science. We made like 1,000 of them, about 1,000 in 2012. And that was kind of this was the first version of the dish. If you scroll back a few slides, this is the first drawing for the dish, so that's 2009. And then the last dish, it took us about 8 years to get it right. We made the box, actually. Domino is quite a big sugar company in the States. And we were looking for alternatives to sugar because it's boring to use white sugar. And I don't really eat white sugar anymore. We don't use it in the restaurant.
And that's hence the name, right?
That's the idea. So we wanted to show the process and use all the byproducts. And where we are, the coconut nectar is just such a special, sort of emblematic thing. You can actually see the process of the sugar being collected if you scroll over one. That's the first dessert. That's the collection of the nectar here. That's about 1 hour from our restaurant. And then the next page is, well, that's actually the priest from the village, about 1 hour and 10 minutes from us, who recently retired from sugar making at about 77 because he was nervous. He'd seen like too many friends fall off the trees. It's not a very safe profession because the guys have to climb the trees, and in their mid-70s, it's like a pretty challenging job. They're pretty tall. But this is him in his backyard cooking. Well, actually, he's finished cooking it here. What you can see him doing is scooping it into the coconut shells. There's a little, I don't want to say a Band-Aid, but it's basically a Band-Aid so that it doesn't fall out the top, but so that it's easy for them to invert that. So for those of you who are familiar with palm sugar, is it sold like that here in blocks or in rounds? In blocks. So, yeah, perfect. So in Indonesia, but also Malaysia, I mean, in many parts of the world, that use a process similar to this have a signature shape. In this case, they use the item that the product is grown in because it's the most convenient and sort of the most organic. And they also use what they don't tell you is like a little pinch of the oil, which keeps it from sticking to the shell. But that's like the secret of the pros that they won't even tell you. But there's always like that little shine, mysteriously. So again, we're very technical, but we're really obsessed with product. And so for us, from pastry, there's really nothing more emblematic, right, for our job than sugar. So we figured that was a good place to start with a dessert. And as you can see, if you can get a little shot over here, this is now at 63 degrees. It's starting to thicken up. You can come. You're fine. Don't worry, please. It's going to foam up. If those of you have cooked eggs or made sabayon before, we're going to go way past that. And it's almost a sludge, which is, it looks kind of wrong, but what happens is we cook it enough that we make the protein stable. So we did a lot of research on this, like a lot. And apparently heating and cooling is a very effective way to keep things stable. And we looked at, again, I don't want to bore you with all of the details on making the meringue. The paper is like 30 pages. But the general idea was that it's not, egg whites don't foam, water foams. Does that make sense? So if you want a meringue to be more foamy, don't add more egg whites, add more water. That's like a Hervé Thies idea from years ago. And a friend of ours who worked for a candy company did another meringue kind of as architecture essay. So we spent a lot of time on how to make this amazing meringue. But also, it's really important to us because we represent, I mean, I'm a guest in the country that I work in, or I don't know, an economic migrant. But like there's 3 meringues, right? French, Italian, and Swiss. And then it didn't really seem fair that since the whole part of the world that actually makes sugar, like is excluded from the process of refined pastry, it didn't really seem fair to us. So we decided to change that by making a Balinese meringue, which can only be made with this kind of sugar, although we've learned that we can do it with other forms of acidity. But hold on, I'm just going to, before she does that, so this has been heated, blended, and strained, and frozen. Again, can be done at home very easily. So just like if you were making an ice cream base, heated, blended, strained, and frozen. Lucia is just going to paddle it for a minute because we froze it in blocks. If we have an ice cream machine, actually, yeah, it's a little bit of a small-sided bowl. No, you can go back in with that, don't worry. You can do, or you can chop it a little bit smaller very quickly before you go back in there, or it's going to keep shooting out. It's okay.
Palm sugar has kind of got a bad rep.
Well, palm oil.
Palm oil more.
Well, actually, that's not even true. Palm oil is great for you. Palm oil is fantastic for you. It's palm oil producers deforesting regions that gets a bad rap. The product of palm oil itself is phenomenal. It's great for you. Palm sugar as well, actually, interestingly, shares none of the palm oil issues because it doesn't, the trees are not harvested. The trees stay, they just take the nectar. So it does nothing to, traditionally, again, this is a big distinction, traditionally made, the sugar harvesting doesn't harm the tree. It's just when it becomes industrialized. So again, that's something, and we will touch on this a lot tomorrow, there are a lot of traditional wisdom that we seem to have lost. And as a result, we now have new problems to solve that we never had. So for us, the idea of using this sugar is really like kind of fundamental to everything that we do. Also, when I first got to Indonesia, I mean, it's a very touchy subject, and I'm not sure how comfortable I am speaking about all of it, but let's say this product was not used widely in Indonesia for pastry when I arrived because it was considered dirty, because it was brown. So white sugar, bleached sugar, is considered clean, and palm sugar is considered dirty. So for us to just using this ingredient and saying that the meringue is brown was like a big deal for what it represents for the products that we're trying to showcase. And also for what we believe in, which is just not appropriating people's products, but showing them off, and in this case, creating a product for, creating a market for someone's products who otherwise wouldn't have it. For us, we don't use truffles, we don't use caviar. You know, this for us is truffles and caviar. It's what's better than something made just for you. Yeah. Like fresh sugar 1 hour from the restaurant, I mean, that's insane. My secret project is that our pastry team makes their own sugar every day, but it's really time consuming. And the yield is like 3%, so we haven't yet gotten the team in place to do like 100 liters of nectar, which is what you need to cook it down. So I'm going to check on how Lucia is doing here. No, I'll do it from the front so you can keep the camera there. It's going to look better for the audience. So basically, it's like a whipped ice right now, and she's going to keep going, I'd say on high so we can get some volume. It's a little tricky in this temperature room, but I have good confidence in where we're going with this. And I would definitely make sure you have all your base. Yeah. So if you had a few pieces that came out, I'd get those in there. Yeah.
In terms of I find it fascinating seeing your sketches. What comes first? Is it the idea, or do you just get a notepad and pen out?
I'm pretty old school. I need it printed out, and it doesn't really matter even for the speech, I need to remember what's in the dessert. And we have all these fancy pages, which are necessary, but I like my notes. So not everything is first a sketch, but at some point everything is a sketch. Some things come, in this case it came, well again, the original sketch is 4 years before we made this, so I don't know. I don't know the answer. We're still trying to figure it out. What can I show them next while that's whipping?
There looks as though there are slightly fewer elements in this, or would that be a misconception?
Slightly fewer elements in this dessert?
Yeah.
No. Kane? No. I think we should just show. Do you have your mangosteen? Yeah. How are we on time?
About 20 minutes.
20 minutes in or 20 to go?
20 to go.
Oh, nice. We have like hours.
Might not be many questions. But
there's no way I thought we would be this far along. 20 minutes to go. We're smashing it. You can take your time. Go slower. Is this my sorbet stabilizer? Yeah. Again, it's hard because we do want to show technique, but we also want to show you product. Mangosteen, not hyper local, correct? Do you have what would be the equivalent? You can. Anything you need. No problem. Does everyone know what this is? Okay, great. So we did bring some stuff with us. What would be the equivalent here? Is there a soursop family or a blonde fruit with a stone? Something sweet? Peach? Apricot? We're getting warmer, colder? Something fleshy, pulpy, aromatic? Rose hips? I don't know. What do you think?
We're in a date world.
Perfect. So, well, I don't know what the dates are like before they're dried.
Yeah.
Right? I would imagine they're pretty fleshy, right? Okay, so this is the Balinese date. We planted a tree in our garden. It takes 17 years to fruit, so we have 15 to go. But we're almost there. We're almost there. And again, amazingly, this product is do you have a board handy? A board handy so you can show the center. Regrettably, the yield on these is about 30%. Less. For 10 kg, 7%, sorry. For 10 kg of fruit, you get about 700 grams of puree. So when you're doing like 2 to 20 liters of sorbet a day, you get trucks load of fruit, which is actually how we develop the bitters for the drink that goes with this dessert, because the skin of this fruit is incredibly good for you. If you peel off the purple, little towel under would be great. Yep, thank you. And if you want to do it there, then they can come over. Do you not have space for that right now? Yeah, why don't you let me know when you have space and we'll move it back over. Can we get a little video in the bowl, please? So we can show the progress. And if you need to freeze it a little bit, that's fine too. But I think they'll get they'll start to see what's coming up right here. How are we looking? You can see the difference in the texture. I'm not crossing anything. This won't explode, will it? If I walk
No,
down?
you're fine.
Perfect. I'm always worried about crossing the wires. If you guys can see, I'm not sure if you can see on the close-up. It's a little tricky from that angle, but you see how it's still like a little grainy? That's because it's still half frozen. So the idea is, and the recipe was designed, again, that's why we did it so many times, is if you whip it for 10 minutes, the temperature at the end is exactly +4. So there's no more ice crystals in it. So it looks a little messy. The easiest way to do it is churn it in an ice cream machine and then whip it in a KitchenAid. Without an ice cream machine, it's a little uglier, but it still works, which is where we are right now. And you can see the texture coming. Sorry, it's so beautiful. Every time I see it, it's like the first time. You can see the body on it coming up now. Like, look at the ribbons coming through the side. Sorry, how far out are you? A minute? Not even, 30 seconds. You can pass it to me as soon as you're done. Sorry, the fruit, again, this is not exactly the way we do it in the restaurant, but you can see the stone here. This is actually like a big multi-segmented one, and we would separate the pulp. You can see the red skin here. We peel off the purple. We peel off the exterior hard purple. The middle part here is incredibly good for your immune system. So actually in Bali, the reason I learned about it was one of our staff relatives had an immune deficiency, and the chef was taking all of our peels, blending them with water and giving them to drink. Again, that's the Balinese, fall off the tree version of, I think now they're very expensive in health food stores. You can buy mangosteen pith like capsules, but in Bali they just fall off a tree. So again, we try to go back to the original solution, which is when food and medicine were together.
What came first in terms of that? Your interest in plants and their healing capabilities before you came to Bali, or was it something subsequent?
Well, we're going to talk at length about this tomorrow, and I'm trying to be disciplined and stay on message today. But I would say a lot happened around 2008 or 9, around the move to Bali. Like physically, I was extremely unwell. So I think it was a kind of combo. Getting really unwell is a really good motivator to learn about being less unwell.
Makes sense.
So, we have our last menu actually is called Casting Spells, and it's 21 dishes that are from a traditional medicine man book in Bali that was translated from the Lontar Scrolls. Our current menu is called Pubel Cuisine, which is our favorite Nouvelle Cuisine dishes, cooked through the byproducts of our medicinal plant garden. So I would say they developed we decided to move to Bali, and then I was quite sick. So, in tandem.
Yeah.
The chicken and the egg side by side, right? That's how it goes?
Yeah.
How are we looking? Can I pass? Great. Can you pop that for me? That would be delightful. I think this we can keep over there for a moment, which is the sorbet ingredient. So we'll just go one by one. Let me know what's up next, because I'm not crazy about that product. Here, you can show them actually. We can't pass that around, can we? No, that's
don't
terrible.
think so. No, that would be,
Yeah, what's the new COVID rule? Everyone shares one spoon. Yeah. You can see the texture here. This is always my favorite test, like the meringue test. So, this is a really great product. Can you get a sense of the texture on that? Like just how smooth and beautiful it is. Sorry. No, I mean your camera guy. Don't worry. What's beautiful about this meringue is it's incredibly low in sugar. It's really easy to make at home. It takes 3 ingredients, and it does take a little bit of care and temperature, but not really more than anything else. It needs to be heated and cooled and whipped. It can be whipped infinitely. You can use it over and over again. You don't have to you just freeze it again and whip it again. You can serve it like this in a dessert. You can see the texture just where the ribbon is. It has the texture of a mousse. Do you have a torch for me by any chance? Sorry, it is delicious. And you can dry it. The easy part of it is to decide what to do with it after you've made it. And it does brown beautifully. So it almost has a marshmallowy texture. That was the whole moment there. It's quite versatile. Lucia is going to show you how we spread it out. The reason it's here is that way, no matter what, I can jump in on it. What are we on next? After that? Why don't you pass me the emping, please? And keep the sorbet there in case I have time. And then while I'm setting that up, you can show them how you spread the meringue. Because I know they'd love to see the sheet. Thank you. I know they'd love to see the sheet of the meringue. So what I'm going to have Lucia do is spread the meringue right now onto acetate sheets, which we then do in the dehydrator. So we don't bake it. It's a little fragile to bake. So what we do is we dry it around 40. Well, we started at 60 degrees and we bring it down to 43. And 1 tray is fine. They'll get the feel of it. Yeah. Any thickness you want is fine. We like it quite thick, where you get a little more texture. You can pipe it into shells like little mushroom tops for meringues, but again, and dry, not bake. And then I'm going to have you show me, who's got the dry? Is that your side or Vivi's side? The finished, no, the finished garnish for this, yeah. You want to pass it to me? Yes. Or is it hiding? Perfect. Great. Just pass me the whole tray, that's fine. Great. Perfect. Oh, do you have a full sheet or are they all broken up? Perfect. Show me the full sheet, and then I'll leave you this one. It's okay. Just as is fine. I can take care. So what she's doing there is spreading it so that what we get is here, which is a little sheet of dried palm sugar meringue. It's really pretty, easy to work with. And again, it's especially easy if you have two people doing all the work for you while you talk to the camera. So what we do is peel it back, the sheet, and then we're able to cut the meringue into whatever shape we want or break it organically for the dessert, which I believe Vivi's going to be making for them right now. Is that correct? Great. So while we cook, we're going to prepare this dessert for you. I think you'll have it before we finish cooking. You should have something to taste, which should be the idea. And we might have, well, let's see, we might have a little bit extra. Let's see. So this is our finished product on our Balinese meringue. You can see the shininess from the plastic, the texture, and you're about to get to taste it, which I think is the best part instead of just talking about it. But we do have to talk about it to show the message. I think you're fine on that. You can show them how the sheet is. So that's a hair thicker than this. You can go to the camera. Yep. So this is a hair thicker than this. It's about double. And you can spread it as thin or as thick or as thin as you want for whatever type of garnish you want. I'm going to slide this over so we can move into a little cookie. Am I going to do the palm sugar cream as well?
Yes, chef.
Great. I'd love to show that because it's straightforward. If you want to set the meringue, in fact, where can you leave it that they'll be able to see it now? I think you could probably set the meringue away, even on the rack, and then we can take a look at the cream, which is super nice. Yeah, they prepared a mountain of mise en place for you today. So we want to show you as many recipes as possible without putting you to sleep. I'm going to leave it here but not put it away, and you're going to pass me for, can you just slide that out a little?
Yes, of course.
Great. And then pass me for the palm sugar cream, which I can make while we do the cookie dough.
So, notice in some of your books, you speak quite a lot about fractal plating, which looks like you've been doing a bit.
I don't know. I don't think I'm qualified for fractals.
No.
I like the idea of it, but yeah, I'm not knowledge. Maybe chaos.
Chaos, yeah.
We try to be kind of organized chaos.
Sure. So what are the remaining elements for the sugar refinery?
We've got a palm sugar cream, which we're going to make by boiling cream and sugar, quite simply. We've got a little, is this our palm sugar?
Yeah.
Oh, we can't, yeah, here. I just want to show you, this is actually the version of the one in there. So we have our meringue. Our mangosteen sorbet is quite straightforward. It's a very simple sorbet syrup with a fresh pulp of mangosteen. You can see that beautiful color. And again, one of my favorite mousses, which we wanted to show you, especially because it's really easy to do at home, is simply cream and palm sugar boiled and chilled and whipped. So, which am I, here or here?
Yeah, chef.
Great, thank you. So this is a pretty easy recipe. We use a little bit of carrageenan in the recipe, in the restaurant. You don't need to do that. We do that because it's a seaweed-based gelatin, and also because it's a local product in Indonesia. So we work with seaweed farmers that are about 1 hour from the restaurant. I'm going to this is a granulated palm sugar, which someone makes for us, but you can grind your own. It's just easier to use for most recipes.
Do the suppliers come to you now, or do you go to the producers?
We try to get out in the field as much as possible. Well, right now, actually, we try to grow as much as possible, which is, right now, I don't think we're able to grow more than 20% of what we use, but we grow 100% of what we use for R&D right now.
Right.
So we're working on it. It takes time. It's been 3 years, but we're getting there. We're getting there. But we have a network of suppliers and producers. I mean, again, Bali's really old school. It's our supplier is one guy. Our salt guy is a guy. It's not a company. It's a guy. He's in the beach, and he's been doing it for his family for 4 generations, and it's 1.5 hours from the restaurant we get fresh salt. Our sugar guy was a guy. When our sugar guy retired, we had to get a new guy. There's no distributor. There's no distributor for that in Bali.
Different to New York.
It's a little different to Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
in the towers. Although I would imagine in the villages it's pretty similar.
Yeah.
And I think that's something. I'm not sure whose lighter this was, but maybe I'm not going to throw it to you. Maybe it can make its way back. I think we have a passion for that kind of. Can I get a little fire? Yeah, am I on? this my guy? Great. Again, I'm going to let this come up. And again, this is the easiest mousse that we know how to make. So again, we've got a beautiful meringue that's straightforward but takes time. An incredibly simple mousse, which is 2 steps. So again, from recipe-wise, palm sugar meringue, palm sugar cream. We do a very simple cookie from blinjo, which is a cracker. It's actually kind of a giant acorn. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that here. It's used as a cracker on the street. Oh, there we go. So this is if those are coming out, I'm not sure if Lucia can hear me on that. But because what I'll do is plate 1 for them here now that I know they're getting the food out.
Perfect.
So this is a giant acorn that we flatten out and use instead of an almond because there's no almonds in Bali. We found other nuts as well, but this is really just a street snack.
How do you flatten a nut?
You literally mash it between your hands.
Fair enough.
It's
Very
again
scientific.
when we opened Room4Dessert in Bali, we didn't have a KitchenAid, a juicer, or a blender. We did everything by hand. We had a mortar and pestle. All these meringues were done by hand. It's incredibly laborious.
Was that intentional? Or
We had no
part of the
money. We
plan?
just didn't have any money.
Fair.
It was intentional. It was just very practical. We didn't have any money, so we just cooked. We bought our equipment at the supermarket, and we bought glasses, and we did everything by hand. So it was. We now have like kitchens and pots and pans, and although not as much equipment I think as we were able to use this weekend to make these desserts, but we're pretty well equipped right now. But when we started again, it was totally manual. But so the dish that you have right there is palm sugar cream with mangosteen sorbet. We call it a Toblerone, which is a cocoa paste and palm sugar, kind of like a tuile, and the blinjo sablé. I think that's all. A couple little sauces in there. I'm going to make one for you here.
As Will is setting that up,
Yep.
Has anyone got any questions?
I think we've got one.
Lady at the front in the back. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Have you ever tried turning it into a buttercream?
So sorry,
That's
Will,
a very
just
good
quickly.
question,
The
sorry.
question was, has the Balinese meringue ever been turned into a buttercream?
Yes, not by us. It's a little heavy for our purposes, and you need to be incredibly careful on the temperature of the butter because it's not a heavy meringue. It doesn't have that density, but you can do it. I would say we use it as a masking meringue actually for cakes, just as is, especially for frozen. It works really well.
And I'm guessing because Bali is humid, it does well with in that temperature?
Well, Bali's a little damp. It's slightly different from here. Some of our things have reacted slightly differently in the desert than in the rainforest. Who knew? So we keep everything in a dehydrator.
Okay.
We can't even use Tupperware in the restaurant because the minute it's open, everything is gone.
Is that for consistency or just the moisture?
Just for humidity. Yeah, we just can't do anything with it. All right, guys. So we're gonna go one for the money. So this is our palm sugar cream, which is palm sugar and cream. This is a gel from the vermouth that we make from the spices that we grow.
There's already requests for seconds
Oh, yeah?
coming up from the
Well,
front row.
we'll be
so-
able to satisfy those requests. I'll take the chocolate now. Thank you. This is our sablé from the basically giant acorn, which you're in the middle, hopefully, of enjoying right now. I hear like general silence, but I'm looking for some oohs, maybe some ahs. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
We need a little more. Yep.
Another question, Will. Can we
Yep.
get a mic to the gentleman in the blue shirt, please? Go on,
Yeah.
sorry. So- Sure. Rambutan, light cheese, and star anise.
Big fan.
Yeah.
Sorbet, please. Thanks. By the way, this is a simple palm sugar syrup.
That's
We
pretty
use
fancy.
all of those fruits, and frankly, when mangosteen is out of season, because it's a very short season, so we substitute. A lot of those fruits work well. Bali's much more of a rambutan place than a lychee place. I'm not sure what the vagaries of sort of agroforestry are, but that's where we are there. Sorry, we're just going to give this a little bit of a home. And I'd love some Balinese meringue to finish. So we've got our mangosteen sorbet, sort of beautiful and pink and shiny. And you can see Lucia's gotten everything ready for me. I don't even have to break my own meringue. That's a true mark of success. And we try to build the dish here with finishing with our Balinese meringue.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And
Lady in the cream cardigan,
Yes.
please.
Mark, we have a drink for you, but I'm not thrilled with our ice service here, so hold on. I think you're going to be able to make it through, though.
Great, yeah, I'll be fine. Sorry, yes.
Yes, I was going to say, for me, dessert always reminds me of my childhood. So I was just going to ask if any of the desserts that you make are inspired by flavors that you loved growing up, or a dessert that you loved growing up.
I think that's a really good question. I'm not sure. Sorry, I didn't see where it came from. Oh, sorry. Hi.
Hi.
I'm going to just show this. This is a version of our, and I will get back to that question. I won't run away from it. This is our sort of studio, or this is our live version of our sugar refinery, which I think is kind of our most emblematic dish over the past years. We think hopefully enjoyable to eat. We get thumbs up or general thumbs up. And really fun to make technically as well. Let's see, I think yeah, there you go. I think from everything we do, I'm like a very old school cookies and brownies type guy. That's what my mom used to make for soccer games, like big supermarket grocery bags full of cookies and brownies. So it's tricky with what we do sometimes because it's there's a certain amount of technique that goes into the work that has a danger of taking you away from that, but those are the flavors that people crave. Like our flan on the last menu was just the most amazing thing. At the end of the day, this is just cookies and ice cream, right? It's just and it's a candy bar. I'm obsessed with Toblerone. Whenever I was traveling, that was like the most luxury thing. So to get that little triangle. So this little chocolate piece is seeded with palm sugar, so it has that same texture as Toblerone. Our most popular dish is Choco Bubbles, which is hot chocolate mousse, which is what I grew up with, and crushed cookies. I mean, that's and there's we love serving it, and we can't take it. It's the only dish we've never been able to take off. Even when we changed our a la carte, even when we changed everything, we've been serving it since before most of our staff were born.
I think, well, that's a resounding yes.
Yeah.
Did you have another one?
No, that was all. Thank you.
Well, I think
Of
we
course.
are pretty much out of... one more?
Yep.
Yes, please.
Yes, we do.
Do we have vegan desserts?
It's a very big part of what we do in the restaurant, and our demand is growing. It's a little challenging. We have on our new menu 2 vegan desserts out of 7. That's about a good ratio for us, 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4. We can do a 21-course vegan menu, though, but we can't do them all. We have to bring some dishes from other menus. We're just not that prolific. It's really difficult to get the textures we want. Pretty much everything's easy vegan except cream. We haven't found a substitute for cream that we like. If anyone has one, please let me know. We can't find something we can whip that we like. I mean, we can get meringues and we can get yogurts and we can do all these plant-based milks, but for the texture, long texture of cream, I haven't found it yet, and I've been really, really looking. For my daughter was vegan. She eats pretty much everything now, but she was vegan for a few years, and we were desperate for a cream solution, but we couldn't find it. So by all means, if there's any vegan chefs, please email me the information. It's great for meringues. It's not so good for carrying fat. We make it from soy, actually, because chickpeas aren't native to Bali, so we make our soy fava, because soybeans are a commodity crop in Indonesia.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Goldfarb. Will Goldfarb, everyone. Thank you.
This is for you.
Thank you, brother. Cheers.